Did some people know about the US strikes before they happened? And how did a few anonymous accounts on an online prediction platform suddenly walk away with hundreds of thousands of dollars just minutes before the first reports of military action? In the hours leading up to the strikes connected to Iran, unusual activity appeared on the prediction market Polymarket. Several accounts placed large bets predicting that the United States would launch a strike by February 28th. Many of those wagers were placed only hours, and in some cases minutes, before the strikes were reported. Something unusual happened around the time of the recent US strikes connected to Iran, and it raised serious questions about information flow, prediction markets, and how people react to major geopolitical events. Reports indicate that some individuals may have made significant profits through online prediction platforms shortly before the strikes occurred. On the prediction platform Polymarket, several anonymous accounts reportedly walked away with hundreds of thousands of dollars. After correctly predicting that the United States would carry out military action connected to Iran. According to publicly available data discussed by analysts online, more than a dozen accounts placed bets suggesting that the United States would strike Iran by Saturday, February 28th. Many of those wagers were placed only hours before the first strikes were reported. Even more interestingly, several of those accounts had reportedly been created only days earlier. That timing led some observers to wonder whether the individuals involved were simply lucky, highly informed, or acting on speculation based on publicly available signals. Political commentator Ken Harbaugh addressed the broader issue in his discussion of modern warfare and the systems that grow around it. Harbaugh referenced a warning delivered decades earlier by Dwight D. Eisenhower. In his farewell address, Eisenhower warned the American public about what he called the military-industrial complex, the powerful relationship between defense institutions, political leadership, and defense industries. Harbaugh explained that throughout history, wars have often created economic incentives for certain sectors. Defense contractors, arms manufacturers, and logistics networks frequently see increased demand during periods of conflict. That dynamic has long been part of global geopolitics. However, what surprised many observers this time was the appearance of prediction markets potentially intersecting with geopolitical events. Harbaugh noted that while industries benefiting from war is not new, the idea of individuals placing wagers on geopolitical outcomes just before they occur introduces a different dimension to public discussions about transparency and ethics. One of the accounts reportedly involved used the name MAGA My Man. According to publicly shared market data, that account placed approximately $87,000 predicting a conflict involving Iran just 71 minutes before the first reported strike. The prediction later paid out roughly $515,000. The situation also drew attention because of reported political connections surrounding the platform itself. Public reporting has noted that Donald Trump Jr. has served as a strategic advisor to the company behind Polymarket and has reportedly invested in the platform. Those connections led some commentators to call for closer examination of how prediction markets operate when they intersect with national security events. To discuss the broader ethical and military implications, Ken Harbaugh later spoke with Chris Goldsmith. During that conversation, Harbaugh raised a deeper question about the difference between those who carry the burden of war and those who may financially benefit from its ripple effects. Harbaugh pointed out that historically, discussions about profit in wartime usually focused on large corporations, defense contractors, weapons manufacturers, and military supply chains. These companies often see their share prices rise when geopolitical tensions increase. But prediction markets introduce something different. Instead of large institutional actors benefiting indirectly, individuals can potentially profit directly from predicting the timing of geopolitical events. Harbaugh presented a visual example showing a sudden spike in prediction market activity shortly before the strikes were reported. He raised the question of whether the people making these predictions were simply interpreting global signals, such as troop movements, diplomatic warnings, or escalating tensions, or whether something else might explain the timing. Chris Goldsmith responded by saying that if anyone had advanced knowledge of classified decisions and used that information for financial gain, it would raise serious legal and ethical concerns. He argued that situations involving sensitive national security information should always be examined carefully by appropriate authorities. Goldsmith also described a separate report that had circulated involving a podcast host who allegedly overheard conversations in a restaurant near Washington, D.C., discussing the possibility of military action shortly before it occurred. Goldsmith explained that if sensitive discussions about military plans were happening in public spaces, that would represent a broader concern about operational security. He emphasized that conversations about potential military action should normally remain tightly controlled, to avoid misunderstandings, speculation, or the possibility of information spreading prematurely. The discussion then expanded to the broader topic of national security readiness. Goldsmith expressed concern about what he described as institutional changes affecting intelligence and counter-terrorism operations. According to his perspective, maintaining experienced personnel and strong investigative capacity is critical for monitoring complex global threats. He also noted that historically the United States has faced challenges related to foreign intelligence operations, espionage attempts, and attempts to influence events inside the country. Goldsmith referenced previous cases in which individuals connected to foreign governments were accused of targeting journalists and dissidents living in the United States. Some of those cases have resulted in prosecutions in federal courts. He emphasized that these issues highlight why intelligence agencies and law enforcement institutions devote significant resources to monitoring potential threats. The conversation then shifted to domestic policy affecting American veterans. Goldsmith discussed a proposed rule change within the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs that had sparked strong reactions among veterans groups. Under the proposal, disability compensation ratings could potentially have been evaluated based on how veterans function while using medication rather than their underlying medical conditions. Goldsmith explained that many veterans rely on disability compensation to maintain financial stability, while managing long-term physical or psychological injuries related to military service. He used his own experience with post-traumatic stress disorder to illustrate the issue. Even when veterans appear functional or productive in certain moments, they may still face periods where their conditions severely affect daily life. Veterans organizations argued that evaluating disability strictly on a veteran's best days could create a financial and medical dilemma for many former service members. Some veterans reportedly worried that seeking treatment or taking medication might unintentionally affect their disability ratings under such a rule. Goldsmith said that after strong pushback from veterans groups across the political spectrum, the proposal was eventually withdrawn. He described that outcome as an example of veterans communities working together regardless of political affiliation to defend benefits that many believe are essential for long-term stability. However, Goldsmith also noted that legal challenges connected to similar policy questions could still continue in the courts. For many veterans advocates, the guiding principle behind their activism comes from a long-standing motto associated with Vietnam Veterans of America. That motto states, "Never again will one generation of veterans abandon another." Goldsmith said that idea continues to motivate many veterans organizations today, particularly when policies affecting disability compensation, healthcare access, or long-term support programs are being debated. Discussions like these highlight how modern geopolitics, national security, technology platforms, and public policy increasingly intersect in complex ways. Prediction markets, social media, financial incentives, and political debates can all influence how people interpret world events as they unfold. As these systems evolve, many analysts say transparency, strong institutions, and public accountability will remain essential for maintaining trust. And these conversations are likely to continue as technology changes the way information and speculation spreads during major geopolitical events. If you found this breakdown informative, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with others who want clear explanations of major global developments. Your support helps keep independent analysis and discussion growing.